and I believe in you. I believe in the simple things and everything you do. I believe in the heavens above, and I believe in truth. I believe in the love we have because I believe in you. So tell me, do you feel the way that I feel? Then tell me, would you give what I'm willing to give? And I believe in honesty, and I believe it's true. And I believe if you set it free, it will come back to you. And I believe that things were meant to really be. And I believe in the love we have because I believe in you.
Hello there. Can anybody hear me? Oh my God. Let's see here. Okay, you guys, welcome to Cancer Kickers, I think. Can you message me if you can hear me? Let's see. Somebody just said, Cynthia, shut down and try to reconnect with UC. I did. And it looks like we're here. So you guys listening? Can anybody, let's see here. Can anybody hear me? It looks like we're live. Okay, let's see. Becky, we got you. Okay, you guys. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Freaking love the chat room, man. Thank you for your help. Yeah, what happened, Vincent, you know, my wonderful producer who I'm supposed to marry soon. Joe Friday, thank you. You're on. You guys are awesome. Nice bitch Zori. Hear you. Thank you, you guys. Vincent, like, last minute decided to tell me, good audio. Thank you. Down, Nick? You guys are great. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna, blast Vincent here to the entire world. Last minute, he decides to bail on me. So he says, but he says, do you still love me? No, I don't. Um, who else is talking to me? Planet X. Good, good. I hear you now. Okay, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so Vincent, he's going to have an awful lot of backpedaling to do if he still wants to have the wedding with me, which we have been planning, the very first of all time web wedding. But I don't know now. What do you guys think? I don't know. I think I'm gonna need a bigger diamond. Also, so I asked them over at the station to forward the phones to me because you guys had a great guest. And if she can't come through, I'm hoping she can, but if she can't get through because they haven't forwarded the phones to me, I'll have her on next week if she can make it because I had her on, I think back in February, somewhere around there. This is when Ina and I were still doing the show together. Excuse me. And you guys, can you hear that? Like where I'm broadcasting from right now, there's a cat, and it never fails. I know you guys have heard this before. She was dead asleep, and then it's my turn to get on air, and she's screaming at me. Anyway, this woman, and I'll post it again, this woman is the one that teaches you how to bend spoons, the spoon bending lady. Her name's Diane Aronson, and I'm hoping she calls in. Okay. Let's see. I want to read you guys. I'm going to read the stuff you guys are saying in chat. I guess I'm not going to say everybody's name. I know Becky's given me clearance to say her name, but somebody else says loud and clear. Thank you, thank you. Okay, someone else is like, ha 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 ha. Vincent Disc. Yep, give him hell. Yep. Who else? Doing that myself. Those are the two I'm missing on the keyboard. Okay, don't know that one. Okay, and then somebody else just said meow. Becky's, that cat sounds wonderful. I miss them. Eric? Okay, anyway, yeah, the cats are great. The cats, can you hear that, you guys? That's hysterical. She's got the, and she's not Siamese or anything. She's got the loudest meow. So anyway, I'm, like I said, the woman, Diane, that I'm want as the guest on the show, she teaches spoon bending, and she's got a great YouTube clip. Somebody did this for her, and it's amazing. And I want to say that I had heard about spoon bending before, you know, and I really thought, oh, and some of you have heard me say this before too. I know this. You know, I thought like, oh, you know, one or two people on the planet might have this gifted ability to do that, and I don't think it's really true and all that stuff. And so another friend, my friend, she sent me that clip, that YouTube clip of her teaching a class to about 30 people, and like they're all bending the spoons. And you guys, I don't mean just like with strength, like bend it in half or whatever. Some of them are actually, the spoon is bending like in swirls, like swirling around each other. And I still didn't believe it until the end of the clip. The woman who sent it to me, my friend Norma, she's in the clip and she's doing it. And I was like, that's when I was like believing it. I thought, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me, because she's a good friend. Norma's my good friend. She's not going to lie to me or do tricksters. A very, you know, ethical woman. Not going to do tricks on and put them out to the world. So then I believed it. So then I called this Diane, and all that good stuff, and talked to her and said, I'm dying to take this class, dying to have you on the show. So she was on the show as a guest teaching us all about this. And again, you guys, it's just getting down to physics and power of intention. So back in, I guess it was July, early August, she was teaching a class. She travels around and teaches classes all around the world, if you want to have her out. And so I took the class and I did it. Now, I didn't do great. I didn't do the swirls like my friend Norma did, but Diane was great. She said that was, you know, that was her third or fourth class. But I actually did it. And what I'm going to do is some of them I bent pretty darn good. And one of the spoons was particularly heavy. And I was really like, before I went into the sort of technique of bending the spoon, just with brute strength, I really tried my best to bend the spoon, and it was really thick and really difficult. And I couldn't, not with my own physical strength. And then I went into the technique that she teaches and started doing, you know, it's kind of a step-by-step thing, and I bent it pretty good. One I completely bent upside down, like back, the back of the spoon touching the handle. So it's really fascinating. And again, the power of intention and the power of the mind, understanding the physics of it. There's a very interesting thing that she says, and I want to I'm trying to apply it to my work as a healer. She says that after there's like this 5 second door that opens when all of the molecules become, I'm going to misquote her, sorry guys, but they become pliable and you can work with them. And so part of the technique is knowing when that 5 second interval comes up, and realizing it. And then the more you do it, the more, you know what I mean, you become better and better at recognizing when that door opens. Really trippy stuff. So I've got a lot going on in the chat room. Let's see here. Ha ha. Laughing. Somebody, cat gave me a picture. I thought the cat was mine. Yeah, okay. Good question. What is the benefit of doing it? I think you mean bending the spoons. Well, I think it's great for you once you do it. It's you're like, holy fuck balls. I just dropped the F-bomb. But you're like, holy fuck balls, I just did this. And I've talked to a lot of you guys, like, I've told you before when, I'm really questioning, belief, quote, unquote, like, only because when really bad stuff happens to me, as I've said before, I can't believe it. And then when really good stuff happens to me, I can't believe it. I still go through moments, when I cured myself of cancer, I couldn't believe it. It was this weird zone you're in, And sometimes my headspace, I'm like, oh yeah, I cured myself of cancer all on my own. I put a little prescription, alternative medicine prescription, and I did that. And it's weird. It's just a weird headspace. And anybody wants to chime in about that. Well, the benefit of doing that is realizing the self-empowerment, kind of stepping outside the box of mediocrity and realizing like the things that you can do. Now, again, as the question was just asked in the chat room, what's the benefit of this? I believe also Diane is teaching it and blending it into hands-on healing work. That's the direction I want to go with it. Like I said, I guess she's not going to be able to call in. I'll find out because I don't believe anybody at the station forwarded the phones to me. So I'm sorry about that, guys, because I would love for you guys all to call in, but I'm just going to keep my eyeball on the chat room here and try to answer the questions as much as I can. So I think so. The benefit is the self-empowerment. Yes, you can filtrate that into healing work. You can filtrate that into a lot of different things. And in my, we're still sometimes the cat's chiming in. Oh Lord. Hey, listen, kitty cat, you go bend a spoon and then you come back and talk to me, okay? Okay, Whiskers? The benefit also is just we're still kind of caught in the dimension of seeing is believing. So once you see that you can do that, you know what I mean? Like I said, the self-empowerment is through the roof. And you'll go through, of course, we always go through this time where it's like, did I just do that? This is a trick. I went through all those doubting things. I love this great writer. He called doubt the ancient friend who will always creep in. Exact quote. That's from actually the book It Works. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that little tiny book where you write 10 of your desires down and just carry that little tiny booklet with you, and the author is anonymous, and you carry it with you. It's about a manifesting, physical manifesting technique that a lot of people use, and I know a lot of you have used it. But so yeah, the doubt crept in, and I'm looking at one of the spoons right now that I did bend, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I guess I did that. It's so I think there's a lot of, and you can carry that further and further and further and further. And also still understanding the door of those physics and opening up that interval where you can do amazing and different things. And while we're on that topic, I had already made some notes that I wanted to go into the Twilight Zone on this show and talk about that if Diane couldn't get in, and so it's kind of, we're wicked, crazy stuff is the topic for today. I'm gonna look in the somebody. Okay, sorry about the virgin ears. Somebody's giving me hell for dropping the F-bomb. Someone else says that this, I think they're saying that spoon bending is badass cool. It is. Let's see. Becky, I was so by myself when I healed mine. Felt very alone, Cynthia. Totally understand. Someone else says you're never alone, Becky. I love that. Okay, something about sound. I have audio. Okay, I'll check my end. Good audio here. Okay. Oh, something else. Maybe inscript your desires on rings. Ooh, I like that. 10 desires, 10 rings on your fingers. I like that. That's really cool. That is really cool in the chat room. They're just telling me that. Wow. Okay, I know. Okay, someone else just in the chat room, not hell, was laughing my ass off. Good. That's what I'm here for. So thank you guys so much for listening and chiming in and all that stuff. I love to interact with you guys. You know I do, in the chat room and all that stuff. I love to hear your thoughts. That's what this show's about. I got to do the technical stuff, which is boring. The disclaimer, we are just sharing information. Neither this show, myself, nor the station is telling anyone how to prescribe and deal with themselves. Always check with your healthcare practitioner. We're just sharing information, and my opinions do not reflect the show UCY TV whatsoever. We're not giving medical advice, just sharing information. Always check in with yourself or healthcare professional if you are in disease and are looking for an opportunity to heal your body. That being said, I just want to say thank you. My thank yous to everybody in the chat room, which is so much fun. I don't know if my buddies are over there. I don't know if Raphael and Pedro are listening in today. Hope so. Hope you guys are over there at the pawn shop, Jack's Pawn Shop, which is awesome. Thank you to Terrell Miller. Thank you to Bernie McGranahan, who's just been such an amazing friend. And again, I just want to dedicate this show again to my mother. Thank you guys so much for all the Facebook stuff and asking me about her. And it's kind of a little miracle. She is doing better, slowly but surely. She's still in the hospital, but she is slowly coming back, which is really kind of phenomenal considering she was on life support, a week ago. So sorry for Becky, did you get your sound back? Oh, I have it now. Cool. Okay, cool. Becky's back with us. Also, I want to warn you guys, I don't know why this is happening, and I think you all know. It's like 15 minutes before the hour. Excuse me. Well, I don't know what's up with my voice today. I start getting a Skype pause. It doesn't drop out. It just pauses. That's been happening the last couple of shows. If you guys just want to hang in there, I'll be right back if that happens again. We're trying to work through all these technical difficulties. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay, here's a good. Is this the same kind of spoon bending this psychic Uri Geller did? You know what? I don't know. Oh, thank you, Becky. She's commenting on my mother. So good to hear. Yeah, I don't know. I'll look that up with that question the psychic Uri Geller did. If we had Diane, the guest, she would be the perfect person to ask. And again, I kind of want to underline once again the question, like, what is the benefit of this? Because in my work and what I'm trying to do for all of you is, you see, like, the psychic did it. Well, everybody is psychic. I'm going to preach this till I do die, which, now that we know how to cure so many diseases, it's going to take a while. You see what I'm saying about, like, okay, that person is psychic, and I do that too, so they can do that, but I can't. That's one of the points of these classes, is that for you to do that and realize what you're capable of doing. And once again, you guys are all psychic. The Essenes, going back to the Essenes, with the Essenes, all they say that what the word psychic means is soul information. And then we've talked about this before, going into, clairaudiency, mediumship, which is what I want to talk about a bit today, clairsentient, clairaudient. So you're using, those are three more different senses that you can use. And I'm telling you, everybody is clairaudient. The more I work with people, you guys are. You just don't realize, and a lot of people are listening, as I did, to the wrong voices when you're hearing these voices in your head. So we're all born psychic. We're all born with those chakras wide open, and being able to, and maybe a lot of you experienced this when you were very, very young, if you can remember, seeing things, or the ghost under the bed, or what have you, and immediately in Western culture, we're discouraged, and it's not our parents' fault, because their parents and their parents and their parents, that's your imagination, that doesn't exist, blah, 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 blah. And some of the leading famous psychics out there, quote unquote, the famous psychics, for whatever reason, their parents were into it, if you will, did not discourage them, and many of them encouraged them, so they would go farther. So doubt, programming, mediocrity never closed those chakras down. They were always utilizing them. I know John Edwards talks about that. He's the medium. He's very, very famous. He's on a lot of cable channels and all that. And what brings me to what I wanted to talk about today is Brian Hurst, one of my teachers, who's a mental medium. And he actually was the teacher of some very famous mediums that are out there, like James Von Prague, and, the list goes on and on. And I studied with him as well about mediumship. Okay, so I'm just going to pause for a second, and I want to see what we're talking about in the chat room. So good. Thank you, Becky. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, somebody said something. I'm missing it here, but they're talking about spicy nachos, and that sounds really good because I'm starving. If anybody wants to deliver spicy nachos, I'm all for it. Let's see here. Somebody's saying they sing in your head too. Admit it, they do. They do. Okay, so we got someone here that's, I don't know if you want me to say your name or not, so I'm not going to until I get permission, but somebody's saying something amazing. I really like this. Somebody just wrote in the chat room, doubt is the first stage of knowledge. Hey. And that lasts sometimes. I love that. Like I said, I want to respect everybody's privacy, so I don't want to announce. Those of you in the chat room right now, you can... you know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to keep that quote. Doubt is the first stage of knowledge. That's really, really interesting. So, wait, can we pause one more time because the kitty wants to say something? Guess not. The kitty is my co-host today, everybody. Since Vincent abandoned me, this is going to be a really big diamond coming down the pike. Filthy big. If he wants, ever again, if he wants this wedding to go down. So now I want to talk to you guys about the trippy stuff. This is in my book, and this is through the process of when I was healing myself of cancer. I'm pausing because it's important. I want to think where I want to begin here with you guys. Okay, let me talk about Brian Hurst. There's two kinds of mediums. My understanding, and if there's more, I'm sure you guys will let me know. There's a mental medium, which we all are, and those are when you're hearing the voices and this, that, and the other, and they kind of speak to your mind. A lot of people like to use a non-physical guide, as this Brian Hurst does. His non-physical guide is called we call him Dr. Grant. And so there's some intelligence in the non-physical that's actually kind of acting like a translator. And again, you guys, all my Abraham friends, we all know Esther Hicks is a translator. You guys know about that. But one of the things that Brian Hurst would do, and he doesn't do anymore, and it's such a bummer because I loved it. Once a month, the first Saturday of the month, he used to have this very sweet little house kind of in the Canoga Park, California area. And, wait, I got to pause. Somebody's saying something. Vince's sex change. Okay. Becky's talking about Vicky. Maybe he ran off again on me because he's having another sex change again. You never know. Could be. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna hear about it, and he's gonna be back with his vagina, talking out his vagina again. You never know. I hope you guys are laughing. I know he would be if you heard me just say that. So you guys are killing me in the chat room. This is awesome. So Bryanhurst would have, these Saturday evening groups, and again, about 30 of us were only about 30 were allowed at a time. And so we'd go to his house, and he'd set it up, and all these chairs around, and like the first half was education. So he would either read something or educate us. We'd listen to these tapes, all this different stuff, And then we take a break, and then the second half was talking to the spirits, right? It was very similar. I don't know if you guys have seen John Edwards' show. He was on the Wii channel. I know the girls love the Wii channel, as I do. He was on another channel as well. He had a number of shows going, but it was very similar to what he did, only he had a gigantic audience. Excuse me. And so he would just John Edwards just kind of look up into, the audience, and whatever spirit kind of popped up to talk to him, he would talk to it. Excuse me, guys, I got to take a sip of water here. Again, who am I kidding? It's scotch. Okay, I'm going to pause again to look at chat room. Someone else is saying vagina is no laughing matter. And then he says, okay, I'll stop now. Don't stop. Never stop. You guys are great. They're going back and forth in chat, you guys. The topic is vagina. Let's see here. Becky's chiming in. I gotta see what she has to say. Ha ha ha. I've been told I have dick envy. Okay, no, I do not. I am tired of having to feel like I'm wearing one while I'm by myself. A lot of women feel that way, Becky. Yeah, you're not the only one there. Not at all. So I'll be quiet as I stick my dick back in my pants right now. Anyway, back to the story, boys and girls. So that's what Bryanhurst would do, only it was small, and there's only 30 of us, and we were kind of in a circle, and like whatever, spirits were the most sort of aggressive, or he could like identify them the most, or what have you, is like the person he would talk to. And you guys, I know you've seen this, freaking dead on, and I did private sessions with him, and I studied with him, and I really came to the conclusion where it's like, okay, this guy is reading like the deepest, darkest parts of my subconscious, because, he's talking about my father, and my father was there. My father would bring up things that I completely forgot about it until he started talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. So I was like, either he's completely, reading the deepest, darkest parts of my mind that I've lost access to, or like there's really a spirit here, and that's for everybody individually to decide. So a lot of the part of the education with Bryanhurst was one of his idols, if you will, was a man named Leslie Flint. And Leslie Flint is no longer with us. Now, he was a physical medium, and his book, Voices in the Dark, I know it was out of print for a while, and you know what? That's such a shame, because, it was such a good book. He was in England. I believe he was born probably the very, very late 1800s. So he became pretty famous in England, in his later 20s. But he was born with this. Now, physical medium, and I know here's a button word that's going to start popping up here. A physical medium, what they do, there's kind of a little bit of different ways to do it, but with certain physical mediums, they're in a darkened room and the ectoplasma comes out. I've done a lot of research on the ectoplasma, and in my research, some people just say, oh, it's bullshit, it doesn't exist. Some people try to identify what it is. And so we haven't, in my research, I still have not gotten really a definitive description on a physics level why this sort of ectoplasm thing, and I'm talking about the molecules, excuse me, the molecules and the atoms within the ectoplasm, why it's very different. So, meaning because it's like it's not that it's non-physical and it's not that it's a little bit physical, but with some of these mental mediums, like the voices, the spirits, it was enough physical matter that would come out of these people's bodies that it could, in a sense, well, not in a sense, what they're claiming, what it did was that it was enough physical energy for the spirit to speak through the ectoplasm. Is that making sense? So let me see here. I know there's stuff on the web about it. I'm just seeing. Becky says I love you. I love you too, Becky. We got a new person coming in. Hi, how's it going? Oh, great, 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 great. So for the new people in the chat room, new people coming in, I'm talking about my experience with ectoplasm. So, according to a number of different recordings and newspaper articles, the equivalent of like paranormal researchers in England. I mean, Leslie Flint, they had their eye on him, and he agreed to every kind of research and every kind of examination by the government about what he was doing about this ectoplasm coming out. So he himself would just kind of sit there. And there was another one in England too, you guys, and I'm so sorry I forgot, his name escapes me. But they did all kinds of tests. Like they would strap them into the chairs, strap their arms down. I've seen photographs of the researchers doing this. So like it's not a magician's trick or what have you. And like this ectoplasm is really coming out. Leslie Flint's story is particularly hysterical, and he was a very funny, witty man. One of my favorite jokes was when he was extremely poor, came from extremely poor family. So school in those days was not even, something that you could attend. And his father, oddly enough, and maybe this is a coincidence and maybe it's not, Leslie Flint's father was a grave digger and worked the night shift. And, in those days, poverty-stricken England, the kids worked, there was no like fun going to school and then going to bed. They worked. And so Leslie Flint, as a young boy, he went to work at night with his father and started digging graves. And then what happened when he was like barely in I think he was preteen, he snuck into the movies. He couldn't afford it, but he snuck into the movies. And so he's sitting there watching the movies, and that's when ectoplasm first started coming out of him. And he said it was a very good movie, and it was very kind of relaxing movie, and he really liked it. It took your concentration, but yet relaxing. And all of a sudden, this ectoplasm starts coming out of him. And he didn't know what it was. He had no idea. And so the people in the theater see this going on, or they're yelling at them, blah, blah, yelling at him, blah, 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 blah. Some people are getting freaked out. Long story short, this is a very long story short, some word gets around, because this is continuing to happen now, even in a darkened room in his home. And Leslie Flint claims that these two very, very extremely wealthy ladies, older ladies, got wind of this and invited young Leslie Flint to come and have tea with them. And he says the only reason he went is because he wanted tea and crumpets, not that he was interested. And they were completely interested and had other experiences. The two older ladies had experiences with other physical mediums and really wanted to like work with him. And he flat out said, I don't want to be a mental medium. I just want tea and crumpets. But they kind of nurtured him and fostered him along to become the great mental medium that he was, really getting the word out. And so eventually, Leslie Flint, like the royal family, he sat with the royal family many times, and tons of famous people, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason that I'm talking about this is, so there's like the Leslie Flint story, and supposedly, if you had a session with him, one of your loved ones on the other side was able to not just talk through him because his mouth really didn't move. You could interact directly with his ectoplasm and ask the ectoplasm, like, how's it going, or blah, whatever your questions are, and they would be answered. So it was really, really fascinating. And there's tape recordings of this. They tape recorded it back then. I think the tape recording started in the 50s, and they started recording that. And I've heard some of the recordings. It's really fascinating. It's quite interesting. And a lot of people, oddly enough, in England were, very mystical, very into this, and different groups were coming together, trying to raise the ectoplasm so that they could communicate with non-physical. And there's this one particular group that did, called the Skull Experimental Group. And some of you guys, and I was invited and worked with the Skull, meaning they were from Skull, SCOLE, Skull England, 4 people, 4 mental mediums, and I got to sit with them and work with them. And that's the documentary. That's one of the other documentaries that you guys are always talking about. Well, not always, but a lot of people are like, hey, I just happened to do this thing on Netflix, and I watched this documentary. I've been in a couple of different documentaries. This particular director, his name's Daniel, he's a wonderful guy. Yeah, he created this documentary. There's 3 different segments of different people or groups approaching the occult and approaching to interact with non-physical energy in their own different ways. And there's 3 separate segments. And he interviewed me and some of the other people who sat with the Skull group. So I'm in that documentary as well, and I'm asking about my experience. So okay, I'm going to take a break real quick and check in our chat room. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, okay, keep yourself protected, definitely. Never trust old shady lady, somebody's saying. Yeah. Okay, you guys, I'm just checking in with you. So anyway, back to the Skull group. Okay, so this is kind of trippy. Now this is when I was ill, and I knew I was ill. This is during my time of trying to cure myself of cancer. And as you guys know, I didn't tell a lot of people. And now the teacher, the mental medium who I'm talking about, Brian Hurst, he he invited the Skull group to come over to that house in Canoga Park and do a whole sitting. Excuse me again, you guys. I'm just taking some water here. So they agreed to do it because now in California, it's very easy to do. It's got back to the physics of it. Like, why do these certain physical mediums show up in different places in the world and not others? According to the 4 people in the Skull group, they were saying that it has a lot to do with the energy, for them anyway. They're working a lot with the energy of the earth. And if you will, sort of how the energy comes up through vortexes, up through the earth energy. And if there's a lot of open space there and a lot of vortexes that are coming through the earth, then it's much easier to sort of harness and use that energy and harness that energy. So like they did great work in San Francisco. As we know, we have a lot of faults here, so there's a lot of energy coming up here in Southern California. There's a lot of energy always coming up from those faults, whether we know it or not. Very similar to the way it was explained to me, which might be clearer for you guys. It's very much like you've heard about in Yosemite, Old Faithful. I've not been there. I hear it's quite beautiful, but it's the same thing. It's like almost like, volcanic activity coming up from the ground. Now that's a very sort of dramatic and very physical way to see it, but those kind of vortexes are happening on an energy level all the time in different areas of the world, and I guess in Skull it's very, very, very active, and so that's why they were having so much success. 2 of the people would sort of be the ones that were like kind of commanding the ectoplasm, and then the other 2 people, it was 2 women and 2 men. One woman would actually kind of sort of, she would interpret a non-physical energy if you had questions. And then the other one was just sort of like a grounder to ground like the whole room and all the people in it. And what we did, and I'm just telling you, this is just my eyewitness. They needed the room to be pretty dark. And all of a sudden, like after a while, we're all sitting there and they guide us through this meditative state. And what was interesting is like, they didn't know I was sick. But one of the 4 members of the school group comes over to me and says, we want to put you in the hot seat, meaning sitting right next to the guy who's, grounding the whole room and whatnot. They call that the hot seat. For some reason, we're being guided for you to sit in that hot seat. They didn't know I was sick. And so I said, okay, I was all for it, even though it was kind of scary and trippy and all that stuff. So I go ahead and I sit in the hot seat and the room is dark. And all of a sudden, like these lights, but very quick, and they didn't look like real lights. They sort of looked like maybe, well, some of them did, and some of them did kind of look like a fog, but how is a white fog showing up in a dark room? It was very interesting. So all of a sudden in the room, there's all this activity going on, and things kind of moving around, and very strange, and then all of a sudden, 2 of us in the room were sick. There was a man in that room, and he was going to go for open heart surgery. He was having severe heart problems. I didn't know that. And some kind of light kind of appeared in front of him. I hate to use the word light, but I don't have a better description. Like appeared in front of him, and then almost looked like it kind of went into his chest. It was the weirdest thing. You guys, I'm talking trippy shit. I know that. And then, disappeared. And then, one was kind of buzzing around in front of me. And again, we're going back to how I started the show with the doubt and like, are you kidding me? And, what is this? And, am I seeing things? But another person next to me, I'm like, did you just see that? And they're like, yeah, I just saw that. It's very strange. So all these strange occurrences going on. Now, what went on in school, because Brian Hurst, my teacher, he actually, and he's British as well. He went to school, and I guess in the circles there, when they started trying to channel this non-physical energy, that's when it was always the strongest. And for whatever reason, it didn't have to be, really, really dark. It could be a little bit of light, kind of like the light, that you would have in a movie theater. Now, I don't understand why in certain places it had to be darker and lighter than others. That I don't understand. But like I said, in school, they didn't need it to be that dark so they could photograph it. And they were doing things there, and for whatever reason, they didn't have the capabilities or able to do it here in California. But in school, they actually would put like these glasses of water on a table, and those lights and fog or whatever it is would go into that water. This is just what I'm told. And it would like swirl around, and people who were sick, they would be instructed to like drink this water, and a lot of them were claiming that it healed them. That's what they were claiming. Okay, I'm going to check in with chat. Wow, I can't even believe it's 2:43 already. The time's going really fast. Let's see here. Okay, somebody just put in, and I'm going to watch this right after the show. Thank you. Interesting stuff. Thank you very much. Cynthia, here's a video of psychic code word for con man. Oh, okay, Uri Geller. Okay, somebody just sent me about spoon bending. I think Uri Geller, the spoon bender. Thank you so much. I'd love to watch this. Let's see. Becky says, okay, why I fluster as most. I see. Okay. Okay, we got all kinds of stuff going on. Name of the documentary. I'm so sorry. I know I need to find that out. Actually, I want to do a shout out to Ian Jacklin. Kitty's doing shout out to Ian Jacklin, because one of his friends on Facebook, a number of them saw it. And I was asking the name of it, but it doesn't matter, you guys. Just because I'm talking about all this, I'm going to ask the director. And you know what? It just dawned on me, what would be really fun is to have this director. I'll have him on as a guest so you guys can hear even more about this. Because he also went into, and I just know bits and pieces of this because I haven't even seen the documentary yet. But, and some of you guys might be aware of this. Let's see now. I believe it was in Spain, there was this much older gentleman, And he had like this old time radio, like really old from when radio, first began. He still had that. And he could tune that frequency into a spirit speaking through the radio. And it was and I believe that's one of the segments that Daniel put in a documentary about accessing, and it was a very young, childish voice, and it was gruff and kind of scratchy and difficult to hear, but they really believe that, another entity, if you was using the energy from that frequency to speak through. And so, like, this subject matter, because it's kind of split down the middle. I know some people are just, this is hogwash and this is the stupidest thing ever and it's your imagination. And then other people are like, oh, of course, absolutely. And the of course, absolutely people say the more and more we get into technology, and some of the people who channel actually and interpret non-physical energy are saying that the more we get into technology and the more that we're getting into frequency work with the computers and whatnot, the easier it is for some non-physicals to come through. Stacy, who's not here in the physical with us, my dear friend, dear friend, but she crossed over a few years ago, and I used to host Spiritually Speaking Live with her. And you guys have heard me talk about dear Stacy before, who was like crazy clairvoyant. And again, another one, born that way. Her mother was clairvoyant, so Stacy was constantly encouraged. Clairvoyant meaning seeing things, like she could really see the spirits. And could hear them, but really good at seeing all kinds of different things. And her sixth chakra was just, she had an amazing command and control of opening and closing her sixth chakra so that she could see the energy and beings walking into the room and things like that. If we have time, I'll tell you the Stacy and my grandma story, if we don't run out of time, because I want to wrap up these other subjects. And then if we do have time, I'll tell you that story, because this is trippy. Anyway, so I just want to wrap up the school story with the man. So, the man who that light kind of went into his chest, I found out through Brian Hurst a week later, his heart was completely healed and never needed surgery. Completely. And again, same with my doctors. They didn't understand what was going on. Impossible. Sending tests back and forth, wanting to keep an eye on him. And like I said, I didn't find this out until later when Brian told me about it. And I was like, oh my God, you're kidding. And not long after that as well is when I got my diagnosis of 80% cell recovery. And I'm not going to say one way or the other, because that light weird thing came so close to my abdomen where the problem began. I'm not going to say it helped. I'm not going to say it didn't. That's for you guys to decide, but that was part of my experience and my healing. And I'm just wondering, I never flat out asked the one particular member of the school group, I never asked them, were you getting guidance that I was ill and that I needed special attention? I never asked them, and if I ever recontact with them, I'm going to, most definitely. I talk about it in the documentary because, it's interesting. I would like to know now. And then just interesting things like, for some of you who, this is very matter of fact, even, I've told you guys also when I was in Africa doing that film, let's see, I was in South Africa in 94, the summer of 94, doing a film. And I had a very great shooting schedule because I had a lot of days off. So I was like scour the country. I was always off and running and checking out new things and everything. And one of the locals there took me to a witch doctor. And there was this other witch doctor that I wanted to meet up with, too, because he sounded really trippy, but I never made it to him. But I went to another Zulu witch doctor who was already telling me I'm sick, flat out told me. Now, that was in 94, and my diagnosis didn't even come in until 96. So it was interesting on an energy level. He was certainly seeing something that I was completely unaware of. And let's all bear in mind, in 1994, that's when I was still very angry ex-Catholic, and I didn't believe in anything. Complete nothing. Nothing. You just die, and it's too bad for you. I had no belief. I wouldn't recognize them about non-physical or energy work or any of that. That's when I was still that person. So, you know, it was interesting for him to tell me, you know, I'm having physical challenges, because I was like, I feel fine, you know, you don't know what you're talking about. That was my reaction then. Now, the only reason I wanted to go to that other, and I'll just tell you, this is a funny quick story. The only reason I wanted to tell you about that other witch doctor is, and I don't know what this means, but the locals knew exactly what it means. You go to that other witch doctor, he was very powerful and difficult to see. Now, this was a white South African that I got friendly with. He worked on the show. He was working on the set. He was in transportation. He was in transportation, so that's how he, you know, got chatty with him. Oh, hold on. I'm checking in. Okay, Becky's stepping away. Rats. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I think I love what, okay, I'm going to just say it. I really love what Joe Friday's saying. Thank you, Joe Friday. Joe Friday's awesome. He says, it's easy to say it's bullshit if you've never had an experience. Thank you, Joe Friday. Yeah, I've had these experiences, you know, with my own eyes and my own ears and my own physicalness. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. And, you know, coming kind of back around to another benefit of the spoon bending, because at the top of the show, somebody chimed in the chat room and said, you know, well, what is the benefit? If nothing else, it's very mind-opening. And you know what I mean? It's really good exercise for the mind to open up to so much information that it is called bullshit. And it's fine if you call it bullshit. You know, I understand, because you do sometimes have to really experience it. You know, I didn't even completely believe when I had cancer that I could cure myself. Part of me was still saying it's bullshit. And as we all know, Ian Jacklin was the first one to say, you know, after he found out what I did and cured myself, he was the first one, and he admits it to this day. You know, he back in those days, he was like, that's all bullshit. That's snake oil. That's dumb shit. Anyway, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Joe Friday. I really love that. You guys are really coming up with amazing stuff here in the chat room. I really love this. I'm going to start doing more chat room shows, because I love interacting with you, and you guys have such wonderful things to say, and it's harder for me to read the chat room, what's in the chat room, when I've got my full attention on the guests and asking them, you know, all the questions, and I want to give them my full attention. I so appreciate them coming on the show and sharing all this information. Okay, let's see if we have time for the Stacy story real quickly. We do. I'll talk about it really quick. This is something I've experienced many times. And I know some of you guys have, when you've gone to any kind of mediumship or talked to a psychic or anything like this. Brian Hurst, he'll be the first one to tell you this. What our loved ones, when they want to communicate with us, what they'll do is everybody in their family pretty much, even if it's an adoptive family, what have you, where you grew up, there's always like those, quote, funny little family stories that nobody would understand, or something specific, you know, about a piece of furniture or a toy you had, or the experience as a young child you had, that almost nobody would know but you and that other person. A lot of times they bring that up. It's like these things, call it a signature. Or like a stamp. They bring that up so you know that's them. And what happens many times with mediums is that they don't have any idea. They're just listening to this spirit talk about something like the yellow curtains, but whoever's sitting in front of them is going to know exactly what the yellow curtains mean. And they'll have a real, I've seen it a million times, not just with myself. I've seen people, and you guys watch John Edwards, because it happens all the time on TV. You can see it. They're screaming, or, you know, they get the chills, or and they're crying, or there's an outburst like, oh my God, how did you know that? That sort of thing. And that's supposedly, that's our loved ones trying to let us know that's them, and they're there, and they want to communicate with us. And that exact thing, and so anyway, a lot of times the medium doesn't even know what it is. And Brian Hurst used to say, you know, to me, he said, Cynthia, mediums, we're the only ones who get paid for not knowing what we're talking about. And that's usually exactly right. So that kind of happened. Stacy, when she was with us in the physical, she was sitting on my crud. I have 2 minutes to tell the story. Okay, I'm going to tell it really quick. She was sitting, and she said this spirit came walking in with this short, very kind of like 30s style blonde hair, you with the whole hairdo and the whole 9 yards, and she kept pointing at it, And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my grandmother on my mother's side. And she loved her hair, and she was one of them. Like even in like the 70s, she still had that haircut. She had the moon eyebrows from the 30s. She really liked that look and didn't want to let it go. And she started talking about a pig, and I had no idea what it was about. But she was going on and on and on about a pig. So I kind of let it go. And 2 days later, I talked to my mother, and I told my mother what happened. And I said, Grandma was talking about a pig. And my mother freaked out. My mother was the whole reaction. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So what's interesting is there was a pig story about a gigantic pig chasing my grandfather and his brother. And it was one of those old family stories, but I never even knew about it. So in a sense, what was happening was my grandmother, as far as if you go for, you know what I mean, this philosophy, my grandmother was actually, that was from my mother. My grandmother was trying to communicate to me, to communicate to my mother, and that was one of the little secret stories. If they told me about the pig story, I forgot about it. I'm pretty sure I never heard about it. To be completely honest, I'm pretty sure I never heard about it. But it was a huge family story because my grandfather and his brother were these big, tough Hungarian guys, and it was a hilarious story about how this pig was chasing them all around the farm, and they were running. It was almost like a cartoon, I guess, and they were running like these scared little characters and screaming and stuff. And so it was just one of those signature stories, they call them, for the loved ones on the other side to sort of reach out and let us know that they're there. And that's what that philosophy is about. So I just want to, we're at 2:56. In a couple of minutes, the music's going to be chiming in. So once again, I just want to thank you guys so much about the African Society. Okay, everybody's talking. Oh, you guys, you're giving me all kinds of good stuff in the chat room. I was not looking at the chat room right now. Grana was making sure you knew the family history, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I want to thank, this is fun. I want to thank all of you guys in the chat room. I want to know if you've ever had experiences like this. I want to thank, again, all the people who have been so supportive. I want to thank UCY. Thank you, Jules, for being so amazing and creating this, station and this forum where we can talk openly about this stuff. I'm going to get back to you guys more and try to find those documentaries, because I think you're going to really like them. And you know what? I'm full of shit is what I am. I really need to just reach out to the director and get it. And so, if Vincent Easley wasn't out, having a sex change operation again, he would kind of whip my ass into shape and do these things so that you guys could see it, because it's really interesting information, whether, you like it or you don't like it, or you believe it or you don't believe it. So I just want to wrap up the show, though, with the theme that, like, what they're saying and the mediums they're saying is that there's a lot of love out there for us, and we're just not aware of it, and we're certainly not educated, you know what I mean, on the TV about it. Regular commercial TV, and it does seem as though they're reaching out to us. We had this funny thing. I told Ian when Ian and I were doing the radio show, if you want to believe it or not, I said, I want to bring Stacy, and I'm calling Stacy, and let's see. And so I said to Stacy, who my friend on the other side, I was like, Stacy, mess up like the computers or do something. Try to come through, because Stacy's still very, very powerful. And you know what? Like 2 minutes later, Ian's computer completely collapsed. Completely went down. Of course, he didn't believe it, but I always thought, well, that's an interesting coincidence, if there is such thing as a coincidence. So I'm going to be inviting Stacy to the show more and more. Since you guys have heard all this, I think I'm going to do that. I just decided I'm going to continue to invite Stacy to the show, and that's the end. You guys, thank you so much for that.
I believe in angels, and I believe in you. I believe in the simple things and everything you do. I believe in the heavens above, and I believe in truth. I believe in the love we have, because I believe in